Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it is Friday evening here in southern British Columbia in Canada. And that means it's time for us to talk about coping with life. And I've got what I hope will be an interesting program for you this evening. We're going to start off by talking a lot about flexibility. And, at lunchtime today, when we were doing the lunchtime broadcast, I was talking about flexibility of the mind. And then this evening, I decided we're going to do some talk about the flexibility of our bodies, or in my case, not so flexible, but that's part of the story. And then afterwards, I'm going to be taking you down memory lane a little bit. I've got a collection of things that were, what things have changed in 20 years. And it is just, to my mind, when I was putting those bits together, I just cracked up and I went, yeah, I think I remember that. So I thought you'd be interested in that. In terms of flexibility, you understand that we have no idea what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes, never mind 20 days or 20 years. And so therefore, life is all about being flexible enough to go with the flow and keep up with everything as best you can. So I'm hoping that those of you who are regulars, thank you for being here. And it's always a pleasure, whether you listen to it, whether I know some of you put it on in the background and then carry on with your lives because you like the learning. And for those of you who want to participate, that's awesome. For those of you who are brand new, we got a little system here where we presume that if you come into the chat, that what you have to talk about is okay for me to repeat. If you are new, I might check in with you a couple of times just to make sure that I remind you that, because the program goes on the replay after we've finished, and therefore I want you to be aware of that. And, some things, if anything comes up and I think, I wonder if they want that on the replay, I will probably check in with you. Well, hi to Izzy, hi to Rinsky. Always good to see you guys. Jody, of course. And by the way, I should start. Let me start with one thing. I got a Christmas box that Jody sent. Now, she delayed the sending of the Christmas box because she had other stuff that she was sending me, and very kindly. And so I thought I'd show you that she sent me some awesome masks that she made. And they're so professional, they've got little instructions on them. But being Jody, not only did she send me masks, but she also sent me extra elastic and the needle with which to thread the elastic. How thoughtful is that? But this looks like I could have paid a lot of money for it on Etsy or something. So wonderful, Jody. Thank you so much. She also sent me some really cute little containers. And it was so funny because when I looked at these, Jody, I'm not sure what was in your mind when you sent them, but when I looked at these, I could see them on my worktop when I get home. For those of you who don't know, this is a rented apartment I'm in because unfortunately my home caught fire, but they're in the process of finishing it. But Jody, I could see myself about to do a recipe and going, well, we've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that and some salt and pepper. I could, that's what I thought of. And I wonder whether you thought of that when you saw these. Could make me look quite professional, wouldn't it? Like Benji. Yeah. And then she also sent me these incredible, I love these things, and she knows that. These are drops that I put on, where's my coffee? I love my latte. Can you see the foam? But what I do is I drop flavorings onto the foam, and she sent me 2 little bottles of the stevia stuff. Well, actually, this is better stevia, English toffee, of course. Yeah. But I didn't open it all at lunchtime because I knew that you guys were. Okay, this one, it's got rounding things, cylindrical things in it, which makes me think that it could well be. Yes. Okay, so Jody knows. Jody has this great site she goes to for lipsticks and things, and she shared it with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And these are 2 of the lip balms that I use. And just so you know, these normally cost about $16. And the place where Jody led me to them, they are about $5. So I think that's pretty awesome. Jody's saying that I got it right, that she did do these for recipe prep. Now, you do know that I don't measure things, right? So I can still just say you hack some in, and that'll be okay. Because I'm looking forward to going back to doing those things on that countertop, people. I've got a very nice countertop here, but it doesn't feel the same. So Jody, thank you. You know that I go through these very quickly, so that's very thoughtful. And there's another one. Okay, it feels like flour. I don't think it is, but that's what it feels like. Oh, a tip for the week, guys. For those of you who are into bread making, into bread making, I have discovered that making the dough, I just make it during the day quickly and turn it over a few times. And then before I go to bed, I just put that dough into a plastic bag. And I don't know why it works. I just thought I'd let you guys know that. If you put it in a plastic bag in the fridge overnight, it makes the best crumb, I think Jody calls it. You know, I do sourdough and it makes big holes and things and it looks fabulous. I don't know why putting it in a plastic bag overnight in the fridge, makes it that much better, but it does. So I thought I'd share that. This, we're not getting paid for this. Eh? It's cheddar cheese powder. Awesome. I sprinkle that over my veggies. I sprinkle that all over the place. And here is another box for me to play with, because you know I like playing with boxes. So this doesn't go to waste. I found that I stack these up this size, because this is quite an interesting size. I stack them up and have got them here as my storage place on my countertop, because all my cupboards are so high I can't reach them. So awesome. I got to unwrap. That's good. What's my next step? Here we go. Oh, put those away later. Now then, so that's my first tip of the week, by the way, is if you are a bread maker, put the dough in a plastic bag. And what I do is I actually make the dough in the morning, and I don't knead it. Who needs to knead, right? I just literally take a spatula and I turn it on top of itself a few times during the day. And I have a wet spatula because I'm always adding moisture to it. So by the time I put it in a bag, it's pretty well hydrated. Getting good at that now. And by the way, if you're wondering, how do you get it out of the bag, Sal? Let me tell you how I get it out of the bag, because that in itself is an art. Okay, let us presume this is the baggie with the dough in it. All I do when I go to take it out is I turn it like this and I push the dough out, and then the weight of the dough drops into the bowl. Did I describe that in a sensible way? Did you get that? So if you can imagine there is dough in there, and then what I do is I just turn the bag inside out, I push the dough until the weight of it just pulls itself down into the bowl. Make sense? And it works. And then I keep the baggie inside out and I swoosh it around in the washing up bowl and then leave it. And after about half an hour, I pull it out and all the bread dough stuff has melted or dissipated anyway. And I got a clean bag. Just rinse it out and good to go again. Oh, you know, I'm in my heaven when I'm doing stuff like that. So let us start with the first part of today's broadcast. And the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is that at lunchtime today, we were talking about fitness of the mind because, you know, as I said at lunchtime, I don't think any of us thought a year ago that, you know, we'd be doing a year of this lockdown type stuff. And I was congratulating everybody on the fact that we've actually done a year and we have survived it, which I think is pretty impressive on its own. So for those of you who are completely new, I'd like to say a very warm welcome to you. DearMamaSal is a group of people who get together 3 times a week. And what we do is we actually support each other getting through life, because life is difficult. And we do 3 broadcasts, 1 lunchtime on a Friday, Pacific time, because I'm in West Coast Canada. On lunchtime on a Friday, we talk about coping with our feelings. And then in Friday evening, we talk about coping with life. And then on Sunday afternoon at 3:30, we talk about coping with stress. And so those are our main focus. So if any of you have got anything in particular that you would like to bring up in this broadcast today, please let us know. So Jody is our admin, so Jody can make a note of it and I can leave enough time to talk about it, you know, when we get to that part. So I would remind everybody that we are now, hard to believe, on page, you know, I've said that if we took the year and made it into chapters of our book, you know, this book entitled 2021, we are now on chapter 2, February, and on page 57 of 365. And so it's running already pretty quickly. And any minute now, it's going to be spring. And you're all going to be going, wow, what happened? This is really busy. And, you know, for me, it's going to speed up even more so, which is frightening. And so I will be needing you to look after me in the coming months. I'm pretty sure of that. I wanted to start off with just giving you all a heads up. I'm going to be talking about getting more flexible in our bodies and giving you some tips. But I want to make sure you all understand that the trick is to work towards things, not to go, oh, well, I can't do that. It's too difficult for me. Or, oh, that's way too painful. I can't do that. This is not about pass and fail. This is about, can you work towards something? And if you remember, 2 weeks ago, I think it was only 2 weeks ago, I made a comment during a broadcast and said, I wonder if I can walk a half marathon in a week, you know, like in doing my walking every day, whether I could add those steps up to a half marathon. And I did. And what surprised me was how quickly I did it. So then last week I said, well, my next goal that I'm going to work towards in terms of building my stamina and things is to walk a marathon in a week. And I was prepared to work towards it. Do you understand that? I didn't expect to do it in a week. I expected to build up enough strength so that I was working towards that. Well, of course, you know me. So let me just get the facts for you, because I know you like the facts. As of now, I have done a total of 30, I think it's 36.6 thousand steps. And a full marathon is 56. So by the time I do the broadcast on Sunday, I might have walked a full marathon in a week, 56,000 steps. I don't know about you, but that's surprising, even me. And the bigger challenge, as I was mentioning at lunchtime, is that to do that many steps requires that I do over an hour a day of exercise for me. And that is way more than I have ever done in my lifetime. But if I want to do a marathon, walk a marathon in a week, I've got to give it the time it takes. And it shocked me how much time it does take, quite honestly. But I am here to tell you it's very possible that come Sunday, I will have achieved that goal in just a week. How about that? Pretty surprising. I wanted to also let you know that, of course, Jody got quite inspired with what I was doing, and she got herself a Wii, W-I-I, in case you think it's something else. She got herself a Wii, and she's only had hers for 2 days. Now, you know that Jody is challenged on many levels with health issues and so forth. And I also knew that she would enjoy the process of doing exercise on the Wii because it's entertaining. And she was telling me yesterday she actually got it all put together. And the next thing she knew, she had done over 2,000 steps. Not real steps because Jody can't walk yet properly. She's recovering from a lot of illnesses. But we got her to take arm rolls as steps. And so now she can actually arm roll for 2,000. Jody, before you got the Wii, how many do you think you were doing in a day? And it's really inspiring because what you have done is you have also built up the strength to be able to do that. And I don't want you to discount what you have done getting there. So one of the things about getting our bodies more flexible is to know where we start. Jody was saying she was doing about 900. That's quite a shift. It's a bit like me going from 0 to a marathon in a week, just about. So I don't know about you, but for me, it's been an incredible journey that I'm trying to share. I want to repeat this now because it was important. If you want to know how flexible your body is, just as you're sitting now watching the broadcast, and what doesn't matter if you're on the replay or here, do this very slowly because it's important you don't hurt yourself. But very slowly look at the top left-hand corner in your room, and then look at the corner, the next one, and then look at the next corner, and then the next corner, and then see how far you can look behind you. And I want to tell you, you will find out just how difficult that is to do. Now, for some of you, if you're young, you're going, what's hard about that? Not very much, but if you are my age, you'll be surprised how many muscles you can feel. And if you hear that popping sound, you're going, oh, I wonder what happened there. I heard a pop. It's actually not a pop in terms of something popped out. It's, your spine, and especially around your neck area, retains gases. And when you move like that, the gases escape, and that's what you can hear. So, and we're going to do more about the neck stuff in a minute, but I wanted to just make sure that you just tried that, because you will feel muscles down your back working that you probably haven't done for a while, especially because of the pandemic. You've heard the expression, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And I think that whilst we've been in the pandemic, that we haven't really been using our bodies as much as we were beforehand. And therefore, the chances are I am not the only one that's feeling that. And, I've done a big job of trying to get my muscles working again. But boy, I know that it's going to take a while. It's not, as Jody would say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to take a while. So I wondered if any of you have noticed any difference in your habits since the pandemic, the year of the pandemic. Are you find you're more relaxed than you were? Are you sleeping more or less? Do you feel that you're getting more done or less done? And just be aware of what has happened to you during the past year. And one of the things I asked at lunchtime, and I want to repeat it now because it's important for those who weren't there, which is, if I had told you a year ago that you're going to do a year of lockdowns and, the vaccine will only just start coming out after a year. If I had said those things a year ago, I am pretty certain you wouldn't have believed me, or you would have been terrified. And yet, congratulations, you dealt with it. You did the best you could with what we had. And I am so proud of you for that. So the first thing, if you have, do any of you have back issues or back pain or stuff like that? One of the things that I am working towards is being able to do stuff to help my back, because definitely my back needs to be more flexible than it is. Now, I'm going to put those things away for a second. There are lots of, if you want some back exercises, there are lots of them on YouTube, obviously. But I did want to give you a fun story about something because I'm working towards, and I wanted to give you an example of how important it is to work towards something. I decided I would do some yoga to help my back. And, the first thing is that the woman goes, well, get on the floor, and she carries on. And I'm going, hold on a second. You need to hold on. Getting on the floor isn't a split-second thing in my life, And I literally have to tell you, the first time I tried it, it took me quite a while to just get on the floor. And I'm busy trying to find the remote to press the pause button and everything. And then she said, I could, obviously there were a couple of things, but then she said, do the child pose. Now, I just want to make sure you all know what that is. If this is your head, the child pose, okay, the child pose is, this is your back, this is your stomach, these are your legs, and then your arms go out in front like that. Got it? I don't know about the rest of you, but I thought, okay. Until I tried to do it. I hope some of you are laughing. Not at me, but whatever. Because when I tried to do this, I wonder if I can draw it above here. So these are my legs. I managed to do that. Then my legs wouldn't bend, so I could not get my rump anywhere near my heels. My rump was about halfway, I would think, and then I went up like this from here. Now, I don't know, and, my arms weren't long enough to go over there, that was for sure. Can any of you relate to this possibility? There is no way I could get the stretch here to be able to bring my butt down to here. And I want to tell you something, I still can't. But the difference is, today I can get down more quickly, and I can I'm nearly here now. But it's taken a long time. Isabel, what's it? She's saying, Isabel's saying, I haven't bought an acupuncture pen. Thought it would be like a massage, but it gives little shocks. I'm not ready for this. Yeah. My acupuncturist has a little thing that doesn't give shocks, but it actually pulsates, I think. Don't use a taser, Isabel. Hi, Sharon. Good to see you. Sharon, I think you're our next birthday, March 12, I believe. So want to continue on this thing about working towards things. Can you understand that instead of having problem getting onto the floor and complaining about it and saying, well, it's too difficult for me, I can't do it, what I decided in my brain was, oh, that needs a lot of work. And so what I've been doing is every day, not every day, but I try to make sure that I regularly, 2 or 3 times a week, I actually get down on the floor. And first of all, get down on the floor and I lie flat on my back. And you have no idea how my muscles complain about that one. And then I do some basic stretch things. And while I am lying on my back, I bring my one knee up and I sort of lean over, push that knee over the other knee, and then keeping my shoulders on the floor, to force my spine to unlock. Boy, it's hard work for me. But if I keep doing it, it's going to eventually loosen up. And there's part of me that goes, Sal, you really should record this because the viewers are just going to crack up if they could see how difficult this is for you. Not crack up because you guys are nasty, because you would, you would laugh with me. Let's put it that way. So I thought we would talk about the fact that if you want a more flexible back, do we all agree it's not going to happen unless you do something? And my question is, are you prepared to do something? The fact that there are so many good videos out, either on your streaming services or on YouTube or wherever, there's so many great things available to us that we don't really have an excuse anymore. How about, would you like more flexible fingers? And one of the, there's such a simple thing if you want flexible fingers. Now, I've got a bit of arthritis in this joint here and in this finger. So if you see me wince, I'm not making it up. It's just that I do have a little bit of pain going on. All right, so if you want your fingers to be more flexible, very simple. And you feel free to do this with me just so that you can feel it. Hi there, Nada. Good to see you, honey. All right, so here we go. So the first thing you do, I'll do it facing you, is put your fingers and touch the base of your fingers. Got that? All right? And then turn it into a fist, and then put your thumbs across. Now, we will either feel that's fine, or you will feel a strain even down here, and then release it all and stretch, and stretch, and stretch. And then how about we come down, this one's sore, and then do this, roll them over, do this, hold that, and then slowly unwind them again and stretch again. Now, I'm pretty certain that you can see that even though that is painful for me because I have arthritis, it's important that I do that. And by the way, if you happen to be a pianist, you can tell this finger just doesn't work at the right speed. But if you want to be come on, join the game. If you want to be a pianist, a pretend thing, that's also really good use of your joints, especially if you remember to keep your wrists up. Now then, here we go. What about wrist exercising? All right, so how many of you do this? Or even sideways, a couple of times a day, just to keep your wrists fluid and flexible. And then do them this way. All right, so it's just like, play bongos. And by the way, it's really good for the flabby bits, right? Just do things that use your wrists. And, it doesn't take a lot of time. You don't need to do a whole lot, just a little bit. Now then, one of the things that you might want to consider is, what about flexible ankles? There are so many great exercises for that. And I've been working on that as well, because, I'm getting older and I need to keep the strength in my lower limbs. And one of the things that obviously you do is rotate your feet like this and then the other way, right? Sharon's saying she calls her flabby bits bat wings. Yeah, I probably would take off if I did it fast enough. So, yeah, make the effort to get up on your toes. You don't have to do the ballerina up on your toes like that, just up on your tippy toes like this, and bounce there for a little while, and then very quietly come back down again, and then go up, hold it, and then go back down again. And you'll be amazed what that does for your muscles. For those of you who have did any of you ever study ballet? Oh, sorry to hear that, Sharon. Hang in there, honey. Did any of you study ballet when you were a child or even a young adult or anything? Because one of the things that I've noticed is, the basic bar steps that they taught us in ballet are so good even today. Where you're standing with your 2 feet like this, and then you have this 1 foot go out, and you sort of touch your toe, and then you drop it, and then you bring it into this position and take it out there and bring it into this position, and yeah, Jody, I don't think you'd be able to do the tap right now, but, even standing it with your walker, I bet you could do some of the basic bar, positions with your feet, or work towards it, right? And I want to tell you, what I realize now is that those basic bar steps that we did, first position, second, third, fourth, fifth, basically use all those muscles, and also great workout for your lower limbs as well. So, Jody, I'm thinking over and above what you're doing, you might want to just warm up doing that every morning, even if you did one set of them. I was saying to you earlier today, Jody, that I do certain things when I start to get bored with the walking. And one of the things I do is I actually do ballet bar exercises with my feet, while my body is walking. So what I do is I walk with the top half of my body, and then I'm doing this. I actually will, put my 1 foot out, and then I will walk to where that 1 foot is, and then I'll bring it back. But all sorts of things like that, where I'm constantly changing where the position of my feet is, because it stretches different muscles. For those of you, again, if you're trying to strengthen your lower body limbs, and I recommend that you do, learn to stand and balance on 1 foot. Now, when you're working up towards that, so that you can stand on one leg and have the other leg off the ground and still be able to balance, that is not easy if you're out of shape. So again, work towards it. See if you can stand on one leg and then maybe just use your tippy toes of the other foot on the ground. It's so that you're not standing like this, you're standing like this now. This leg is on its, just resting next to the other foot, and see if you can stay stable like that. And have a chair back there. Remember, what you're doing is improving your strength. You're not trying to be on YouTube as a fitness guru. You are trying to find out, what is my tolerance? What can I do? And how much do I need to improve it? And I think it's really good to know that. And I would recommend that you do these sort of things. If you haven't done a check on yourself for a long time, how long does it take you to get onto the floor? And I don't mean blind drunk, but, how long does it take you to get onto the floor and get back up again? It's a good thing to know. Have you ever tried walking on just using, standing on your toes, not on your foot, but just on your toes? Can you do that? That's a good thing. Really good workout for your ankles. And what about, can you walk on your heels? In other words, not the flat of your foot. Can you walk on just the heel and stay balanced? If so, you've got pretty good flexibility of your feet. And for those of you who may have plantar fasciitis problems, a really easy stretch for you would be to take a bathrobe and put it around your feet, and then, push your feet down, and then gently with the bathrobe, tie the tie thing. Just gently pull your foot towards you. You don't need all fancy equipment, and do it gently because you're not looking to hurt yourself. You're looking to just stretch those muscles a little bit. So that's a nice, easy one if you've got, that problem at the bottom of your feet. So, flexible neck. That's where I found out about that child pose thing, which I'm working towards. The other one is obviously the neck roll, but do it slowly. All right. You can, to do anything to do with your neck quickly puts you at risk of trapping a nerve or something. So please, if you're going to do these sort of head curl rolls, be prepared to listen to lots of popping. Keep the chins up if you can. But, and then reverse it and do it. But really good. And, as you can see, I can hardly get my head over to my shoulder, but I'm working on it. And that side's even worse. And this is after all the stuff that I'm doing. So I've got a long journey ahead of me to get this going, or to keep it at this level that it doesn't get too much worse. I think, again, be really aware of working towards a minor goal. All right. And so if you say, I don't have to be the next Jane Fonda, but I would like to find out, I would like to know that if I ended up on the floor, I could get up fairly easily. I want to give you my experience. 3 months ago, it took me a long time to get to the floor, a long time. But it took me even longer to actually get up because I didn't have the strength in my legs or my arms. And I noticed, and just as I was doing stuff today, I thought, I wonder how long that takes me today. And I was quite amazed because I was down doing the child pose thing to see how I was doing on that one. And I just got up. And now I did need to lean on something. But I did manage to get up quite quickly. And I think that's because I've been doing so much walking. All right, so welcome to Leo. And Leo is reminding us that it's Black History Month, and that's always good to remember. Thank you. And we do know that it's going to be International Women's Day back on, I think it's on March 8th. So that's going to be fun. Thanks for popping in, Leo. Always a pleasure to see you. As I said, I'm not sure if anybody's got a birthday in the next week. If so, let us know, because the only one we know about coming up is Sharon's on the 12th. So how many of you want to get more flexible? How many of you can feel that being in the pandemic and not living your normal life has caused you to be a little more stiff than you used to be? And if so, how many of you are going to commit to helping yourself get more flexible? Because if you don't do it now, it's going to be even worse later. And that's why I really want to encourage my viewers to be aware and to do things. And it's not easy. So you need to be committed to do it. You need to be able to say to yourself, I am worth the effort, and I'm going to make time to do this. And maybe I do a lot of my walking while I'm watching television. instead of sitting on the couch watching television, I put on what I want to watch and I will walk while I'm watching. So, or I will do stepping while I'm watching, right? So to me, it's like something has to give. All right, now then, here we go. First of all, do any of you buy your butter lettuce like this? And I would really recommend it. And I leave mine in this container in the fridge, and then every day I take off about 3 or 4 bits of the lettuce, and I also mix it in with romaine lettuce for my daily salad. But there's a reason why I wanted to show you this. Can you see all the moisture that is around the top here and everything? And it made me think, something, it just is growing, right? It's still got the root in it and everything. So when I started to buy these, I also learned another trick, which some of you know. I just want to make sure that people who might not know, and every day I just give it a little bit of water. This is a slow process. This one is probably been regrowing for about 3 weeks now. But can you see that all these leaves are growing out beautifully? And I'm nearly at the stage where I can start, harvesting a couple of leaves. But I'm going to be patient. I knew I'd probably have a problem here. Hang on, guys. Let me get that safe. That's pretty safe. But it's not the reason I'm telling you. Being me, I thought, that's like a mini greenhouse. It's growing in its own little greenhouse. So I said, well, if we know that it's growing in its own little greenhouse, why don't I use it as a greenhouse? And ladies and gentlemen, these are my first, can you see them? These are Scotia tomatoes. So therefore, this is not Tommy the tomato. This is McTavish, Dougal, and coming up, little baby. Could I have a female Scottish name, please? So they are well on the way. See that? It's all part of the process. You won't necessarily be able to see this but you can't see it. But if you get really close to it, the spinach is just beginning to sprout. And I only put these in earlier this week, about a week ago. We've got Peter, Percy, and Petunia. And actually, no, she's not Petunia. Anyway, the pea people, who are my peppers, you see them all growing beautifully. They're very happy in the greenhouse. I want to tell you, it's amazing how well it's working. And this is another pepper. This is one I grew from the seeds of one of the peppers I had in my grocery order. I dried the pepper, and then this is one of the seeds that sprouted. So it's a different sort. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I putting them up like this? Because what I'm showing you is, if you really wanted a greenhouse, you could build a vertical one. And if you had it in a corner somewhere, they could be growing. And you're saying, well, Sal, you know, I don't have the right lighting or whatever. I have just literally found the trick to this, and that is, if you've got a light over your dining room table, just stick them under that light at night and leave the light on. And that's how I'm growing these. I haven't got any special lights. I just leave the dining room light on, and they are all germinating beautifully. Simple, reusing. And by the way, when you're probably wondering what's the next step, let me show you. First of all, this is high enough that the seeds can grow pretty tall, all right? They're already a good inch. So they're gonna have another 2 inches to grow in here quite comfortably. So what I will do is, once they've got a bit of strength to them, I will then put some of this coconut stuff around the edge, and then plant these seeds individually around the edge, and then just keep some moisture in the center here. And by the time they hit the top, they're going to be strong enough for me to be able to take the lid off. And I can either cut the lid off and have it loose. Just another thing I would tell you is, every morning I actually open them up and let them, I don't want them to get moldy or anything. So every morning I open them up and leave them for half a day. And then I give them a couple of drops more water, and then I close them up for the night. Make sense? But isn't that simple? Instant greenhouse. And you don't have to worry about the frost or anything else, because they're growing indoors. And as I said, if you just stack them up in one corner, just keep a light near them, they'll be fine. If you've got them in a corner, when you open them up and let them air a bit, rotate them when you put them back. But it certainly doesn't take up very much room. As you could see, I could just stack them right up. And in the meantime, this one is continuing to grow. Why? Because it has roots on it. And this one is continuing to grow because I didn't throw it away. And I can't show you at the moment, but I've got romaine lettuce growing like that. I've got celery growing like that, all in these little containers. They're just leftovers from grocery order. I can't wait to get home and play. All right, now then, moving right along. I wanted to tell you that my shock this week, had a couple of shocks this week. Number one is, the good news was they got all the floors in at my house. I'll be getting closer to going home now. But what I realized is that because the flooring is now this incredible gray, and it's very pretty, because they are this gray, I've got to change every air vent cover, because all my air vent covers were brown. So I've got, I'm going to have to buy a bulk batch of air vent, those air vent things on the floor. Izzy is saying, I put the shallots in less water on the counter, but my stems have dried out. Okay, now then, they will do that. The outer part dries out, So what I do is, about once a week, I will peel away the outside stem. And I keep them in water the whole time. About an inch of water, about half an inch of water. I just top it up every morning. And once a week, I literally take them out and I run them under a cold tap, the roots, because the roots are inclined to get a bit mushy. And so what I will do is I will run them under cold water. And mine are doing really great. As you know, I've been growing mine like that for a long time. And my shallots last me for about a month before I buy another one. And quite honestly, I've got an ongoing freeze drying in my fridge where I, take the green part and I just cut it up and I put it in my fridge, and it lasts, it dries in there and it keeps its color, which is what I love about it. So keep playing with it, and let me know. I mentioned this at lunch. I also want to mention it now because I got different people come to the evening one. I did not buy a new computer. You remember I had a problem with my computer, and I said I'm going to have to get a new one. One of the things that I wanted to show you, and I was showing at lunchtime, so bear with me if you saw it then, was where the problem probably started. Here we go. And this is pretty gross, so I wanted you all to be aware. All right. I lifted the key, the actual key itself. I took an art tool and I just lifted the key, and they pop off. You probably know that, but just be gentle with it. You don't want to break it, but you just literally lift up a corner and it'll pop out. So I did that, and people, I want to show you, to my horror. Turn, please. Okay, that's not going to turn. This is what was underneath the key. And so what you're looking at, skin cells, you're looking at eyebrows, eyelashes, you're looking at little bits of flour from making dough, obviously coming off on my nails, but generally, isn't that amazing what was underneath there? So that was the first thing I realized. So obviously all the keys need to come off and I need to have a really good clean under there. Scary. Now you're probably saying, what about some compressed air? Hi, good, and Kez as well. Good to see you, and Beth. I would say that because we're trying to use less of the aerosol type stuff, I've actually bought like a bulb that you can just squeeze, press it, and it will, have a stream of air that will help clean that sort of stuff out. But what I wanted to show you was, when I realized my problem is my keyboard, I decided to get a new keyboard. And think about this. Do you understand? I'm still using the same computer. The only thing is I'm not using the keyboard. I'm using this one. And this is the old-fashioned type one. And I don't know if you can see there that there aren't any holes for the stuff to drop into. Can you see that? The keys are all raised so that if stuff drops into there, I'm going to be able to clean it much more easily. Can you guys see that? Understand the principle? Quite honestly, I can literally go, and I don't know if you saw, but bits actually just fell off. And so I would do that rather than do this, because if I do this, then the crud can catch underneath here and then end up in the keyboard itself. But but this is what I call retro, because what you don't realize, and just bear with me if I accidentally hit the enter button, but what you forget is that these keys are noisier. And that takes a little bit of getting used to, the noise. It's like we've forgotten how quiet the laptops are by comparison. But does it work? It really works beautifully, and I've been so happy. And it's got a matching wireless mouse to it. So the difference is, instead of spending a couple of thousand replacing my laptop, what I've done is spent a couple of hundred between this, and I'm going to put the data onto a bigger external hard drive and then continue to use it. Make sense? I also was saying that one of the other shocks that I have about my house is that when I go back there, I won't have any coat hangers. My rugs were all matching my brown floors, so I'm going to need to get new rugs. And that's only the beginning. There's so much. I had a huge shock when I found out how much it was going to cost me to get the bathroom I want, but I'm still debating on that one. But I think I'm just about there. I believe that it will be safer for me, and I deserve a bathroom that is going to help me when I get older. So again, if I had asked you a year ago, do you think you have the mental strength to handle a year of lockdown and all that brought with it? I'm pretty sure most of you would have said no. And yet here we are. Life, you see, is constantly changing. And the whole thing about coping with life is to understand we are stronger than we think we are. If you had said to me, hey, Sal, in the coming year, you're going to move from one house to another, you were going to do horrible damage to your ankles and your Achilles tendon. You're hardly going to be able to walk. Oh, and your hip's going to go. Your left hip is going to give you major problems after the move because you were walking up and down stairs badly, carrying loads and so forth. And then, Sal, within 9 months, you're going to have a fire, which means that you're going to have to leave your house for 6 months. And by the way, there's also going to be a pandemic and you won't be able to hug anybody for a year. And then, Sal, not only that, if you just keep piling it on, I don't think I would have felt capable of handling all that in 1 year. What about you guys? If you had known the reality a year ago? So what I started to look at was, if we know that life is constantly changing, I thought we'd spend a minute to look back and remember. Can you remember 20 years ago how many people smoked? Think about that. 20 years ago, think about how old you were 20 years ago, and think about how many people smoked 20 years ago. And then think about how few people smoke today. And what I found is that 14 out of every 100, only 14% of US adults still smoke today. And by the way, for the large part, they are in the lower socioeconomic group. In other words, they have less income and less education. Isn't that interesting? That in 20 years, we have come so far. Jody is saying about, if I'd asked a year ago, would you be able to cope with all that this year is going to bring you? She said, I would have said it would have been difficult, but it's doable. This year has taught many of us the lessons about being prepared. I must admit, Jody, that I'm still shopping from my, just so you know, you remember I got everybody to please stock up their larders ready for the pandemic. I'm still shopping in my own pantry for a lot of stuff. I keep going back to my house and they've still got the pantry stuff in there. And I just, every time I visit it, I open it up and I go, what do I need next? And keep pulling stuff from it. So if you think about it, how many other things have changed in 20 years? about this one? 20 years ago, we did have the internet, but if somebody wanted to call you while you were on the internet, it disconnected you. Do any of you remember that? And how many of you can hear the AOL You've Got Mail or the login sign up thing, that noise that it made? It's only 20 years ago, people. Isn't that scary? Jodie's saying about the stocking up the pantry and everything. She said, we are too. Thankfully, you taught us about having an heir and a spare. Yes, of things that are really important to you. You should be using, let's say you happen to like ketchup. Using this bottle of ketchup, you need an heir. That's when this one's finished, you've got an heir to the throne and a spare. And if you always have an heir and a spare, you're not going to run out in a hurry. Beth is saying, thankful for being in retail and not having to stay isolated. I was kind of in my own mental pandemic for my whole life. Yes, you were, Beth. And you've done a wonderful job of getting out of it. Beth, I understand that I can order bulk things from a dollar store if I buy a caseload. Is that correct? Because I'm thinking I might need to buy a couple of things by the caseload, in which case I should order them. You know, if I find anything at a dollar store that I like, I should order it from them. I'm thinking, you know, the organizers for my drawers that I'm going to have to replace and coat hangers came to mind. You know, so I'm thinking, I might have to just buy those in bulk, or, you know, get a few of them now and then slowly keep, you know, building up until I find out how many I need. So think about that. In terms of the internet, how much has the internet changed in 20 years? And can you remember 20 years ago, if you think about it, you still went to the movies. You know, you didn't watch movies at home. You still went to the movies. And I was saying, one of the comments I made at lunchtime, can you remember that if you went somewhere and you wanted to take pictures, you had to take your camera with you? You didn't have this. You know, you had to take a camera with you. And by the way, if I had said, and in 20 years, you will be taking video on this little thin thing like this, you remember what the first video cameras looked like? You know, and if I said to you, yeah, well, actually, this does all of that, and then some more, you would have laughed at me. Think about that. And then if you think about it, right, we still went down to Blockbuster 20 years ago to go and rent the movies. By the way, you couldn't watch them in your car if you wanted to, as you can today. And, you know, if you really want to rent a movie today, you can either do it through your streaming provider or, you know, you can rent them from Amazon. Amazing, really, how far we've come in that area. How about food? What has changed in food in 20 years? Got any ideas on that one? I'd like you to think about what we eat and how we eat it. And then whoever would have thought that a pandemic would come along and ordering takeout from any restaurant you wanted to was a possibility. And I say that because I think then one meal. I'm very proud of myself for that. I've actually cooked every meal myself. And the only meal, as you know, I have my Sunday meal where I go out and eat on a Sunday, but I have not ordered takeout food. And I'm feeling a bit badly because I'm not supporting the local restaurants. But you and I both know that, as Beth says, that 20 years ago, we had fast food quite a bit. We might not have had it delivered, but we went and got it pretty often. And I would like to say that the food that we eat is totally different today. Yeah, Beth's going, they didn't have your daily Starbucks the way that they do. What about your protein lunches and things that you pick up, Beth? Were they available 20 years ago? Your bento box of protein, your boiled egg, and all the good stuff that you pick up in that little container, that wasn't available 20 years ago. We didn't even know about that. Right. Or how about I'm thinking about Go Fresh or whatever, people delivering the ingredients for you to cook a meal at home. That wasn't available 20 years ago. What about, healthier food in general? Did we have the healthier food shops that we now have, the choices that we have? Kez is saying, I remember how heavy our bags were because we had to carry all the gadgets and a purse, and now we just take the phone with us. Yes, exactly. And, what this does today is just mind-blowing, considering, what it was 20 years ago. How many of you can remember when a cell phone was about this big? One of the first ones, they were about this big, and you sort of held, it was like a brick, and you held it up to your face. Yeah. I think they sort of use them a lot in building places, construction. And if you think about it, food today is more colorful than it was 20 years ago because we're eating healthier choices today. Therefore, healthier choices are better colors. And, if somebody had served you 20 years ago, nouveau cooking, where it's a little thing like this with a couple of sprigs of something, and it wasn't a plate overflowing with food, you probably would have had a major catastrophe on your hands. And you probably still do with some people. How about something like terrorism? Do you think that you expected terrorism then, back 20 years ago? Or did 9/11 change it for all of us? Oh, Beth is saying that she thinks that the portions were smaller 20 years ago. Yeah, it's gross, the size of the portions today. I'm not joking. When I go to that meal on a Sunday, when I have the Chinese, I literally have now said to them when I go there, which is as they go to put it on my plate, to put half of it in a takeout bag, box, because I'm not joking. They put so much food on the plate. It is a full dinner plate, and it is piled high, and there's definitely enough for 2 meals. So why have the portions got bigger? And by the way, have we got bigger with them? If you know what I mean. Is the fact that they're serving bigger portions causing us to be overweight? Right. So Beth is saying when she orders a meal, she orders one and she splits it with her husband. Yeah. And I want you to just think about this whole business about the terrorism, because I think 20 years ago we didn't expect it. And yet, isn't it strange? And from a bit of research that I did, that it's worth noting that while much of the world has seen an increase in terrorism, the rate of death from a terrorist attack has actually decreased in the last 3 years. Did you know that? So even though there is still terrorism going on, your chances of actually being killed within it is less. And by the way, when we're talking about our phones, Even if you did have a cell phone, if you were lucky enough to have one of those cell phones way back 20 years ago, you certainly didn't text people, did you? Right? You used it as a phone. And it wasn't a smartphone. It was, how many of you remember the flip phones? Beth is saying that she will share anything except her ice cream. She will not share that with anyone, not even Charles, her husband. I love it. How many of you remember playing a game on your phone 20 years ago? You could play one game, I think. Maybe two. How many of you remember the snake game? And I'm thinking, didn't Pong, was it Pong? Didn't that come out? It seems like a century ago that Pong came out. Jody, could you check for me, what year did Pong come out, Nintendo Pong? Kes is saying it's a lot easier for vegetarians and vegans to buy takeaway food and supermarkets, and also for those of us who have allergies. Yeah. So today, the tiny little section of health food that was in the supermarket now is a couple of aisles. And I think that we notice. I agree with you that their understanding of what is needed for people with allergies is so important. For those of us who are diabetic or whatever, it's much easier for, great point, Kez, thank you. All right, so Jody's confirming that Pong came out in 72. I remember it so well. Hey, can you remember that we used to be able to go to the airport and walk straight through to the lounge, in the terminal? There was no security. You just literally, grabbed your bag and you went through passport control if that's where you had to go, but that was it. Can you remember those days? And by the way, talking of that, you sure as heck didn't have to take your shoes off to go through security. Right? That only happened after the shoe bomber came about. How many of you going, yeah, I remember those days? Now here's another one. And let's see how technology has changed. How many of you still use the Internet Explorer by Microsoft rather than Google Chrome? Yes, Beth is saying, I can't remember when I last wrote a check. You're right, Beth. I have my checkbook with me here, but I think it was probably 5 or 10 years since I last wrote a check. I actually had to go to the bank to deposit something this week. Why? It was an overseas check and I had, it was in a foreign currency. So I actually had to go to the bank and physically deposit a check. It was just like, when did I last do that? Yeah. So anybody still not use Google? Because I don't know when Google started, but my sense is that 20 years ago, we were using Internet Explorer. Kez is saying in Australia, we don't have portions sizes, the takeaway as big as America does. No, it's gross. And it's not just America. Canada is just as bad. Not quite as bad, but nearly as bad. Let's put it that way. So now that we've gone back, what do you think could happen in the next 20 years? What do you think will happen to food in the next 20 years? Any ideas? How do you think food will change in the next 20 years? Or how would you like it to change? Beth is saying, I think most people now are conditioned to think that that is a correct portion. Exactly. So, all right, so what do we know? The piece of meat should be no bigger than the palm of your hand. Is that right? Correct me where I'm wrong here. If you have mashed potato, it should be a cup. This is a mug. It should be a cup. If you have vegetables, it should be a cup, I think. I want to tell you, it's really, oh, Tetris. You're right, Kez. Tetris. Yeah, I remember playing Tetris. That was, I think, less than 20 years ago. Could be wrong. No, Tetris. I can remember where I lived when Tetris was big. All right, so Jody's saying, I think our meals will be in a little capsule, like on the Jetsons. Yeah, I think the way we eat food will be totally different. I believe, I asked this question the other day, and I don't know if anybody answered me. Have any of you tried the no meat, cloning meat stuff that they're doing now? Have any of you tried that? Because I think there'll be a lot more. We won't be eating beef. We'll be eating fake beef. Tetris was in 84. Okay, so that's I'm right. It was less than 20 years. I do love it when I'm right, Jody. Thank you for making me look so good. So think about that. All right. I haven't tried the fake, but I'm thinking I'm probably getting close to it. Because what if it does taste the same? Think of all the greenhouse gases we can save. But why haven't we tried it? Think about that one. Why haven't we tried it? To me, I'm scared of it. I'm scared it's going to taste vile. But then I think back and I think, gosh, I can remember thinking that green juice, I would never drink green juice. Can you any of you remember that? Oh no, that was disgusting. Look at it. Why would I ever drink that? And then you actually make some and taste it and find out it actually is great. And it's healthy. You go, well, I guess I could handle that. Oh, yes, Kez, there's a great one. How many of you remember when we had to carry our suitcases? They didn't have little wheels on them. Beth is saying veggie burgers are awesome. They're more flavorful than a regular burger. Thank you, Beth. I might actually try some because I'm beginning to find that I'm cooking more and more vegetables now. And my go-to now is I just, as you know, I love, instead of having potato chips, I slice up sweet potatoes and a few regular potatoes and some sliced cabbage or some sliced onion, and I just, toss it in some olive oil and put it in the oven for half an hour. Boy, and that is a snack. I make it once a week, and it's enough to last me all week, and I put it in little containers. And when I want a little snack, I bring it out and I either eat it cold or I warm it up with some mayo. And it's such a tasty snack. And I mean, whoever thought I'd be doing that? Hello. But the other thing is this. Can you imagine that I have been working out for 3 months now, over 100 days, and my weight did not go down? Isn't that amazing? And I know that Jody gave me some words around that. Beth is saying a side of green pepper cut in half like a little boat with cream cheese. That sounds good. Right? And I think we'll do a lot more. Jody, I've got a feeling I put that in a special document so I'd be able to get to it Let me see if I can find it quickly. Jody was saying this plateau issue that I have actually is not unusual. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it. Huh. Bear with me a second, people. There we go. All right, let me just get the screen up so I can see what people are saying at the same time. All right, I want to read you something that Jody sent to me, which I thought any of you that, like me, are going, I'm doing the right things, but boy, that needle is not shifting. This is what Jody sent me. She said, there are many reasons for experiencing stalls, such as genetics, hormonal factors, yo-yo dieting, severe calorie restrictions, to name but a few. Regulation of body weight is asymmetric. It is much easier to gain weight than it is to keep it off and lose it, right? And keep it off. I found that. The more weight you lose, the harder your body works to resist the change. Lowering the body's set point takes some time and patience. Set small goals of no more than 10% of your remaining weight loss goal. Consistent, structured, and changes over time are key. Exercise and nutrition are both important to help lower the set point. Well, hello. Strength training exercise, such as lifting light weights, permanently boost your calorie burn by increasing your body's supply of muscle tissue. All right, thanks for that, Jody. I appreciated that. So here is the thing. That's why I upped my steps a day from 2,000 to 8,000. I'm going to do what it takes, and I'm going to find out how much I need to do to shift weight. Kiss is saying, I think some of the sci-fi movies and cartoons in the 60s said we could be eating food in pill form by the 2000s, and they were right. And if you think about it, and really think about the astronauts. You know, they have a little ration pack like this that they put a little bit of water in, and it's roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. Think about that. And they live for a year on that stuff. Yeah, I mean, and I bet you it would be cheaper. You know what I'm saying? Beth is saying, I think that's why I can eat 4,000 a day and keep steady weight. I'm lifting constantly at work and making my metabolism faster. I am beginning to think that one of the things I'm going to do is to actually carry weights while I walk. And that would be maybe a can of baked beans in each hand. You know what I'm saying? So that's the next thing I'm going to do is, all right, I'm doing the walking thing. And the next thing is to carry weights while I do it. I actually need to rebuy my weights because they probably have gone on the destroy pile. So that's something I've got to think about. But, you know, I can tell you one thing. When I next speak to my doctor, I feel very confident that I have put in a major effort in the last 3 months, a major effort. The fact that it's not shifting is just one of those things. Ankle weights. Oh, put ankle weights on. That way you don't have to put the weights down. They're always on. You mean wear them all day long even? That's an idea. That is quite a clever idea. And good exercise for your ankles as well to carry that weight, I would think. Talk to me more, Beth. Can you slip different values of weight into those things, or do you have to keep buying another set? But you guys are getting the idea, right? Which is, I'm not complaining anymore. What I'm doing is going, okay, I need to find out what I have to do. And it's not that I haven't been doing stuff. I have. And I know I have. And I'm still going, this is ridiculous in some ways, but it is what it is. And I'm hoping that any minute now, as I get stronger, exactly, Beth, that, my weight will suddenly start going like this, because I have been really consistent. I have exercised every day except maybe 2 in 3 months. And I can prove that. And, when I look at it, it is, as I've said, when I next do my checkup with my doctor, you can tell when I do my wee stuff. Look at that. Look what happens to my burn rate when I'm doing wee. So I'm doing over an hour of that now. And Beth, I'm doing close, about 8.5 thousand steps a day average now. And those are real numbers. So that is a brilliant idea. And I'm going to do it, Beth. I'm going to get some of those weights and put them on my ankles, because what would you recommend I start at? Because my ankles are not strong. But I think to wear them all day long is a brilliant idea. It would force me to use my legs better. Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned that. 2 pounds on each, or 1 pound on each? That's like a bag of sugar on each. Are you serious? No, half a bag of sugar on each. Okay, I'll see what's available. And I'll let you guys know how it works. Thanks, Beth. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Oh, 2 pounds total, 1 on each. That sounds better. I've got a feeling if you put 2 pounds on my legs at the moment, I wouldn't be moving very far. All right, now in the thing about trying to save some money, I found a very interesting thing. I found, Beth's saying she's got 5 pounds on each leg and she wears them all day at work. Wow, that's amazing, Beth. Thank you. I'm trying everything I can to build up that strength. So that's a really good idea. Beth, I hate to ask you this, but do you have the name of the type that has you can drop the weights into them for me, so I don't waste a lot of time looking for it? You know me. Work smart, not hard. If you could text that to me, maybe a picture or something, so that I know what to get, that would be awesome. I was doing a little bit of research for you guys, a couple of strange things. I've always said, now that we're in the pandemic, if you've got to buy anything, buy bigger rather than smaller. Here's something I found out that I thought was interesting, that if you buy 12 packets of gelatin, which is basically what you make your Jell-O from, it costs about $7 here in Canada. And I was thinking, What's Jello? It's just gelatin that's flavored, right? So have a look at that and see. I think you can buy bulk gelatin these days. So it's like, and then you could just, I mean, I could make English toffee. I could make English toffee Jello now. But I saw a great cake this week where what they did is they made an angel food cake, and then they made cream cheese icing on it, and then stuck fresh fruit against it, and then literally dropped it into a mold and put gelatin, aspic is what we used to call it, gelatin all around it. So when the cake was finished, it was this amazing looking cake that was like floating in, it looked like the fruit was floating in water, you know, and then when you cut it, it was this cake inside, and it was just looked so good. You know, part of me wanted to do that. Has anybody worked out yet the thing I mentioned last week, which is why bulk soy sauce is more expensive to buy bulk soy sauce than it is to buy the small bottles? I am totally confused by that. I do not understand that at all. So, as we wrap up here, I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page. Hi, Benj, good to see you. And on the same page, right? If we do not use our bodies more, even though we're in a pandemic, we will be so sorry. Okay, Beth is saying wrist weights would help during the Wii workout for building muscles, therefore burning more calories. Okay, so wrist rather than ankle. I could wear wrist ones all day if I, you know, when I'm around the apartment here. But what I'm trying to do is to build the strength in my legs, and that's really something I'm working on a lot. And you know, again, if you look at it, I'm now averaging 8,000 steps a day, and that weight is not shifting. I wonder how much I'll have to do for that weight to start shifting. And it's not because I'm eating horrifically. I'm not eating perfectly, but I'm not eating horrifically, that's for sure. Okay, so I think putting them on my legs is a good idea because it'll force me to use my legs better. That's a good one. So here, this is the whole point of today. Number one, be aware of where your weaknesses are. All right. Remember that we lose strength from our lower limbs up, you know, as we age. So keeping my legs strong has got to be my major focus now, even if we weren't in a pandemic. And that's why I got the weave, is because I wanted to make sure I started to exercise. And I didn't want all the excuses, well, it's raining, it's cold, it's whatever. I needed something I could do indoors. And so what has surprised me is that I have been, as I said, I don't think I've missed more than 2 days in 3 months because it's fun to do. And the interesting thing is that Jody was saying that she was amazed that she went from doing 900 steps a day to 2,000 just because it was fun to do. And so therefore, the answer to it is find something that you enjoy and do it. Or, like Beth, find a job that makes you walk a lot, you know, and then put weights on your ankles as well. Beth, you average about 20,000 steps a day, I think, if I remember correctly. And you're as thin as a beanpole. So there's, you know, but I was trying to work out, you know, it takes me over an hour a day of concentrating on exercise to get in 8,000 steps. So I literally know what I have to do to get in 8,000. So to get in 12, it's probably going to take me an hour and a half, I would think. Beth saying, I am strong everywhere except when I raise my arms. I lose strength when I go above my shoulder. Yes. But you've also got some health issues that go along with it, and you did damage, right? I want to put it that way, Beth. You did damage to your lungs. So, it's like you shouldn't be lifting above your head anyway. You excuse my saying so. Yeah. So let's look at it and go, what is weak? As I said to you, are your wrists weak? In which case, do you know what exercises to do for your wrists? All right. And do them. Is your spine beginning to seize up because you're spending so much time sitting? In which case, you need to do lots of torso bends and stuff like that. Discuss it with your doctor next time you're there. Maybe they've got, ideas of things you can do. And by the way, you won't do them unless you want to. You do know that, right? When I said to you guys a couple of weeks ago, I wonder if I can walk a half marathon in a week. I needed to want to do that for it to happen. And then when I said last week, I wonder if I could do a marathon. I had to, I literally sat with my calculator and went, a marathon is how many? 56,000 steps. To do that, I would need to do over 8,000 steps a day. And that would take me over an hour a day of dedicated walking. And I'm going, no way I'll be able to keep that up. We'll see. I'm not far behind. Kimmy, good to see you. I'm not far behind, am I? What did I say? I've got about 12,000 steps to go before the Sunday broadcast. Anybody want to put any money on that one? And can you imagine how excited I'm going to be if I've done a marathon? Even if the weight hasn't shifted. And so the point being, if you don't want to do anything about it, you won't. But if you do want to do something about it, I would like us all to come out of this pandemic a little healthier than a lot of people. Beth is saying, I know when I sit down for 30 minutes, I'm like an old lady grunting. My jaw need oiling. Believe me, I know about that one. I like the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. Hi, Nasha. Good to see you. How are things in Trinidad, or particularly in Tobago? And Jody's saying, if on Sunday I let you guys know I did the marathon, you'll all be cheering with me. How many of you actually thought I would do it? I guess that's the question. When I said to you, I wonder if I can do a marathon. I thought that would be in the very far future. I didn't know that I would. When I did the math and said, my gosh, I would take over an hour of walking every day for 7 days to do that. And I'm going, there's no way I've got the discipline to do that. But what I found is I don't have to do that hour all at one time. I now say to myself, before each meal, I'm going to walk 20 minutes before each meal. And that works. That gives me the hour. And then, of course, that I found out I can walk and watch television at the same time. I don't have to sit to watch television. Jody's saying, I knew you would because I know your level of commitment. Well, hello. I had 60 years of being committed to giving up smoking, but it took me 60 years to actually do it, Jody. So, it's like I always had it on my wish list, but I never did it. And I still, to this day, thank Benji for his incredible support of me at that time. Because I remember he just kept looking at me and saying, when you're ready, you'll do it. He said, I know you. When you're ready, you will do it. And he was right. But it took Juliana to be ready for me to do it. Isn't that funny how it all links back? All right, so Niasha, you say you're struggling, honey. In which way? Right. Beth is saying, I'm committed next week to not go into work on my day off. Yes, you have to make yourself that important. Benji's saying about my giving up smoking, it took 60 years for you to find the motivation, but less than a day to actually quit. You know what still surprises me, Benj, more than anything, is that all through the fire and everything that has happened since then, I never thought to have a cigarette. I think the day of the fire, I said to the fireman, you know, I gave up smoking 7 years ago, and there's part of me that apparently is thinking it might be a good idea to have a cigarette, but I think I've inhaled enough smoke for one day. And that was it. I didn't think about it again. So when we look at this, all right, remember what I said. I'm so good. I'm so consistent at doing that. Remember what I said about the choices I made this week? Hang on, people. The choices I made this week. Do I need a new computer or do I need a new remote keyboard that I can use with my computer? Right? So when we get flexible in our thinking, which is what we talked about at lunchtime, and then flexible in our bodies, remember 3 months ago, I struggled to get down on the floor and get back up again. Today, I struggle to get down on the floor, but it takes me less time, and I get back up again. And it hardly takes me any time. Why? I've spent 3 months building a little bit of muscle. Now, I showed you that child pose thing. There is no way I can, and this is this, I remember thinking, that's quite easy. You just get down on the floor and then you get your, you sit on your heels and then just bend forward. And I'm going, how difficult can that be? What I didn't know is all those muscles along my, where my knee bends, those have all just tightened up. And so I've spent time stretching those muscles and I'm nearly there. Kimmy's asking, that is the keyboard I want to get someday. Do you like it? I love it. It's like an old fashioned one. And what I love about it, Kimmy, I don't know if you can see, but all these little posts where the keys are raised up. So what happens is if I drop anything on there, I can just go like that. And it's not going into the keyboard. I was showing pictures, Kimmy, of the crud that was underneath my keys on my keyboard. And so now I don't need a new computer. I got myself a new keyboard. And, and it works. And I also have that folding keyboard. So what I did is instead of spending a couple of thousand, I've now spent a couple of hundred and got what I need. And the computer is still working. Yay. And do I love it? Yes, the only thing I would say, Kimmy, is you can get a remote keyboard like this one. But I needed this. It's called a mechanical keyboard that makes the clicking sound. Yes, and that's what I was going to say. Remember those days. So, but I love it. I really have to say I love it. It's bigger. You forget how big. It's much bigger than my laptop. But then I do like to have the number keypad as well. All right. So and as I was saying to viewers, I am busy at the moment making the decision that I am important enough to spend money to get the shower that I want. And it's so funny, when you retire, you realize that this is the only money I've got and you're going to be really careful with it. And so, but it's not true. Hi there, Ace. Welcome. So the thing is that I just need to get my mind right and just go. And the funny thing was, I went, well, if I spend that money on the shower, I won't be able to get a new to me car. And I'm going, something, Sal? One step at a time. Get a shower that you can put a walker in if you need to, or that you can put a seat in if you need to. That is so important. And so, Kimmy, I will gladly send you the link to this keyboard if you'd like it. In fact, I think, Jody, can you remind me to put it in the video notes so that I can show people? But it's like, it is, it saved me from having to buy a new computer, which I didn't want to do. And it's not my birthday. Ace, my birthday is only in August. It's coming up fast. So thank you, Jody, for all my beautiful presents. Remember, if you buy lettuce like this, it continues to grow in your fridge. And remember that even when you've finished it, if you look after it a little bit, it will continue to grow. And remember that these make the perfect greenhouses for seedlings, and that you can stack them one on top of the other and not take up very much space. But please remember to open them up once a day to air them out a bit. And how many of you can feel that I'm beginning to get just a little excited about maybe going home in the next couple of months? That is very much part of my fear and my excitement. And I don't know why I am so looking forward to getting the computer back in the cupboard and being able to open up those cupboard doors. Kimmy's saying, I've cleaned up my computer, but it probably has more cleaning up to do than I know. You're right. All right, so Beth is saying that one of her employees got his second COVID shot. Yeah, in Canada, I don't think I am due for one until April. They're still working on the 80s, and I'm not in the 80s yet. So I'm in the next phase of people who will get. I want to thank you all for surviving the year. I want to thank you all for not quitting on yourselves. I want to thank you all for understanding that we are as flexible as we choose to be. And, each generation has their reasons to have to be flexible. For my parents, it was the war. And, they had to learn to deal. And I keep thinking every day, can you imagine going to sleep every night, not knowing whether there was going to be an air raid siren going off where you'd have to grab everything and then go and hide in a cellar somewhere. So I think it's really amazing how resilient we can be if we choose to be. Kimmy, I think about all that happened to you last year. You had so many things, both emotionally and physically, and with your husband as well, all the things that happened to you last year, and yet you're still here and you're still, moving forward. I look at, as I said, Lauren, who just got back from the funeral of her grandmother to find out that her uncle died. And it's just like, a lot of things are going to happen to us. And which daughter? Beth had surgery. Oh, Kimmy's saying at her age, she won't get it until September. I thought you were closer to my age. I would have thought it would be sooner than that. But obviously you're not closer to my age. Jody, when are you on the schedule? Because you must be coming up pretty soon now. And my question is, will Lionel automatically get vaccinated at the same time because he's your caregiver? I would, Kim, I have to say, at the rate at which they're increasing the vaccinations in the States, I don't think you'll be waiting until September, quite honestly. Oh, it's Victoria, really? Wow. Can we put up thoughts and prayers for her, Beth? Would that be okay? She's having 2 metal plates out of her arm because some of the screws are messing with her elbow. Wow, that sounds so painful. All right, so Jody has to schedule the appointment. So you can have yours now. And Lionel needs to wait until April. So Lionel's in my position. Okay. And the good news is, for those of you who are waiting, they've just now approved the Johnson & Johnson. Is it Johnson & Johnson one? Vaccine. You're only going to need a single one. So, that is quite exciting. That you won't need to have two. If you can get that one, you can just have one. But I'm pretty sure there'll be a heavy demand for that. So staying flexible in our minds is something that we've all had to learn this year, more so than ever because of the pandemic. And then please also remember to keep flexible in your body. Because when we go back to life as we think it will be, because it won't be as it was, when we go back to the non-pandemic life, things are going to get faster again. And when it's going to put a lot of stress on our brains, because our brains have slowed down by virtue of how we've been living. And all those pressures of fast decisions. Also remember that people want fast decisions. You don't have to give them fast decisions. I obviously was being asked to make decisions about my shower. And I said, give me 4 days to think about that. Why? I knew I needed time to phone people, find out what the going rate was to do that sort of work, find out the people who had done that sort of work, did they ever regret it, or was it something that pleased them every day? You know what I mean? I wanted to do that research. I spoke to my realtor. If I do this, it's obviously it's a good idea for resale, but is it that much of a good idea, because of where I live? And, all those sort of questions I've been asking. And if I need a week to make that decision, that's my right. I'm a homeowner and it's my money. Okay, Kim is saying, I'll also have to wait. In June, I am getting my second shingles shot and I've had a reaction to it. I don't want to get the COVID vaccine too close to that shot. Wow. So best of luck, Kimmy. Beth is saying, I think more people will be able to work from home, new technology to be able to go online now. Yes, and that was the other thing. While we look back to how much things have changed in the last 20 years, I do believe that this has caused, as you say, companies now know that more people can work from home. They're not necessarily going to not work, that it's possible to do. They found out how to keep track of them. But by the way, I do want to give you a heads up. I heard from a friend of mine who works obviously from home, and she said that her company had been actively watching their employees' social media to see whether they actually had been at home working or not. Interesting. All right, because if you were putting up pictures of, this is where we were, and it was at the wrong time, or here I am at the airport, or whatever it was, they were keeping track of people's social media. So be prepared, people. Yeah, I think, Kimmy, I think it's likely at your age that you might get it before June. I really do. At the rate at which they're producing the vaccine now, I think it's very likely. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Does anybody have any last minute things that they'd like to discuss before we go? Any more? Beth, did I get the okay to put up thoughts and prayers for Victoria? All right, so Kimmy's saying, where are the legit work at home jobs? That's a good question. Why don't you let me do a little bit of research into that and see what we can find for you, in terms of what areas are best. And we'll talk about that next week, or maybe I'll mention it on Sunday, Kim. I can't tell you off the top of my head. We need to do a bit of research for that. And then Beth is saying, my husband has to log on to his work site to go to work from home. Yes, but how often during the day does he have to log into it? Is it just once a day? Or does he have to log in every hour? Or how does it work, Beth? I also, Kimmy, I have no idea what your skill set is, what jobs you've had in the past and so forth. So if you'd like to email to me that information, so I've got an idea of what sort of jobs, you might be thinking of. And then we'll see if we can help you. The important thing is that more and more jobs, yes, there are a lot of scammers out there, honey. I quite agree with you. And that's why, and that's a really good subject, Kim, how to work from home and for a legitimate company. How do you get those jobs instead of the thing? The same thing is, I'm going to put up the warning again. Please be very, very careful. If anybody offers vaccine over the internet, all right? Please. Benji saying bamboo is flexible, bending with the wind, but never breaking, capable of adapting to any circumstance. I hope everybody flows with the wind. Face, you will get through it intact. We started with a quote about bamboo. Isn't that interesting, Benj? For that very reason, all right? And again, that we are stronger than we're inclined to believe. We don't think we've got the mental strength or the physical strength to be able to withstand these things, but in fact, proved in the last year that we have. And again, thank you all for supporting one another. How many of you found it helpful to be able to come back and be giving you hopefully some ideas on. Let's continue to support one another. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much. And what I think is now a buffering thing going on, but I love you dearly. Let's continue to help one another. Let's continue to find out how to grow our food, how to do everything that we need to do. And let's get through this together. It might be another year. Yeah, exactly. Beth is saying, and sometimes to heal. So true. So look after yourself. Nyasha, thanks for coming in. Thanks all of you. Big hugs. And we will see you on Sunday. And Jody, just remind me to see what we can find. Oh, Kimmy's saying, I have a book that I got off Amazon for seniors that have that information. I just got it. I haven't looked at it yet. From AARP. I would say anything from AARP is pretty legit. All right? So we'll see you on Sunday, everybody. This is DearMamaSal saying thanks for being here. Let's keep being flexible, both in our minds and our bodies, and we'll get through this. Bye-bye for now.